Yo guys, to tell you the truth, I've been very busy with my job now. I am back though with an unboxing, a more recent unboxing. It's a little bit late, I know. It's the B191 Overdrive set, I think is what it's called. And yes, there's a brand new Belial, plus a new Phoenix, plus Savior Perseus, plus the DB launcher. Takara told me really outdid themselves with this set, and I managed to snag a few. Matter of fact, this thing was sold out on Amazon JP for a really good while, so I'm quite impressed with how popular it is. Granted, there's two completely new Beyblades that we're gonna get, Belial and Phoenix. Oh, right here, Phoenix right here. And then of course Perseus. Perseus, if you guys weren't aware, it's a, or it was a rare get Bay, so it's really nice to be able to get that more accessible now. As for the box though, this thing's huge. It's actually one of the bigger boxes that I've ever seen, might be the biggest even. 3 Beyblades jam-packed plus the launchers. So this might be the best starter kit you can get right now for Beyblade, if I'm being completely honest. You get stuff like Bearing, Giga, Universe Metal, Taper, and then of course Phoenix and Belial. So overall, very solid. That's enough of the box though. I think we're gonna go ahead and just crack this open. Alright you guys, I'm back with a close-up, and this is the box. I can barely get it in the shot. It's just so wide on my desk. But yeah, 3 Beyblades. 2, I mean, we know Belle already has this in the anime, but we have yet to see this guy. I think his name is Pain or something. And then the launcher, of course. Overall, just a really solid set. So I'm excited to open this up. Let's go ahead and get it from this side. So now we can get the cardboard out. All right, first things first, the instructions and sticker sheets. Can never forget these. Next up is the launcher, which I'm gonna keep sealed. I already have 2 of these opened, by the way. So this is gonna stay sealed. And now for the Beyblades themselves. Boom, we have the 3 Beyblades right here. So let's take it all out of the packaging. Alright, so I'm going to start with the launcher. So I already opened this one and I've been using it for a good while, or a little while. This thing is probably the best launcher you can get right now for DB. For one, it has the power gear, and if you guys don't know, it's the same gear that came on Savior Valkyrie's launcher. So smaller teeth, which means more rotations and more power, hence the name Power. And then I think this is the best part, and it's that the prongs themselves have a bearing, and so now it's like really smooth. And that of course is going to give you a much smoother launch, but also I think a little bit more rotations. As for the body of the launcher itself, I do believe it's longer than your standard DB launchers, but don't quote me on that. So all in all, this is probably the best one you can get. It feels really smooth, by the way. So DB launchers are a huge step up from sparking launchers. By the way, highly recommend getting any of them, really. They're just really solid. But anyway, we're gonna move on to the Beyblades themselves. I'm gonna start with the, I guess, the lesser of the 3, even though they're all really good. That being Savior Perseus. And so we're gonna start off with the driver Bearing. This thing caused a little bit of controversy when it got announced, because this is Bearing Dash. That's right. And so what this means is that it's not necessarily a dash driver, it's more so just a normal spring. And if you guys didn't know, the original Bearing had just a plastic spring. So Takara told me finally gave it a metal spring. However, that's pretty much it. Now, I've seen a lot of people complaining about this driver not being good, and that the spinning time on this is a little bit wacky. And it almost looks like this thing's just a little bit wobbly even. So I don't know, there could be some part variation in this one, but we'll find out. Anyway, the next part is Giga. And Giga is also one of the better discs, easily one of the most versatile discs, I'd say. It came out with Ragnarok and then Bahamut and I think a few other releases, and now this one. So another really easy way to get it. You don't need to pull out of a prize or anything, so that's awesome. Lastly, we have Savior Perseus, and goodness, this thing is gorgeous. Wow, okay, first of all, Savior, right? Savior's probably might be the best for attack, at least it was for a short while. This is a beautiful recolor. It's like a pearlescent white with gold and yellow rubber. And of course, it still retains the same gimmick. These bits kind of wear off over time and it becomes more aggressive. But I felt like Savior was a little too explosive for its own good, but who knows about now? It might have a use. But yes, this thing is gorgeous. Of course, Perseus is probably the most sought after part from this, in that it's a weight or chip. It has metal in it. So this is going to give you weight that a lot of people were seeking. Of course, this was a rare Get Battle prize, and now it's an easy way to get it. Again, no need to go through all that hassle. You can now get this. And the bits of metal are pretty subtle. I thought there'd be more in the chip, but it doesn't look like the chip has anything. It's actually just these bits here, these ends, that have it. So that's interesting. Okay. As for the armor, it's, I believe this is 3? Yeah, the 3 armor. It's a little bit of an asymmetrical armor. I think it's really well suited for Savior though, because it's 3-sided. And it originally came on Vanish Fafnir. So, very useful armor. All right, we're gonna put it all together now and hopefully get a feel for this. I'm actually quite surprised Takara Tomy gave us this combo. A lot of people were very upset that bearing dash is a thing now, but I feel that in this day and age, there's stuff like drift that are probably better than bearing. And it looks like we're gonna get an extend dash as well, or extend plus dash. So this is probably the least of many people's worries in the meta. But here we go. Teeth on this, or I guess clicks on these, feel pretty average even. Perseus teeth, I didn't even look at it, but they seem pretty average. Yeah, I'm not seeing like a huge game-breaking teeth here, but when you put it with Giga and bearing, the clicks are just average. So there's that. Savior Perseus, goodness, altogether it's gorgeous. Again, I don't know how many times to say this, but wow, beautiful. Okay, that's enough of Perseus. We're gonna move on to Phoenix now. All right, so I'm zooming in a little bit just so we get a nicer shot. This is the driver metal universe, and I always mix these up because there's drivers that end with metal and then there's drivers that start with metal. But yes, this is metal universe. It's universe from, of course, Christ or Curse Satan, but now with metal on the cap. And this is also, or metal drivers have been controversial also in that they apparently destroy drivers. Now I haven't used them enough to know, but it seems that Takara Tomy has addressed this. These tabs are actually more blunt than your other previous metal drivers, which means that they're not going to damage teeth, at least not as severely. So I guess Takara Tomy did listen to people. So what that means is that it's just going to be less of a burst resistance, but at least you'll be able to preserve your teeth. Anyway, this is Taper, and we've already seen Taper on Vanish Fafnir. I think it's a fairly suitable disc. It's round, and it's just there, so yeah. Of course, the main focus here is Prominence Phoenix, and wow, this thing is chunky. This might be the biggest layer I've ever seen. Wow, I am impressed. Takara Tomy kind of outdid themselves because not only is it giant, but it's also gorgeous. So let's start off with, I guess, the chip here, or the core. It's Phoenix. It's pretty recognizable as Phoenix. It kind of borrows designs from the previous ones, except this is more of like, I guess, a Revived Phoenix evolution. Teeth on this seem, I think there's about 4 on each side of nice sharp teeth. So this will be pretty good as far as stamina and defense. Just a really gorgeous design. And then of course the main gimmick being the base, which they did implement the armor. A lot of people are wondering how they were going to do it. It's fairly simple. You have the armor here, which is the top piece. Unfortunately, there is no metal on this though. In fact, there's no metal on any of this. So I guess that's the trade-off. However, as far as it getting into place, there's these little tabs that it just hooks onto the base, and you just have to essentially line it up, and boom, it just clicks into place. So in battle, it's gonna pop off and do its thing. Now, the armor is 10, and 10 kind of makes sense. It almost looks like the Phoenix armor in a way. So aesthetically, it's correct. As far as, you know, its use, I think it's a fairly solid armor. It might be one of the more heavier ones. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, let's put it all together and we'll see, or get a feel for this Beyblade. And I do feel like Metal Universe was a little bit of an odd choice. I would have liked to see maybe some kind of friction upgrade, but I can kind of see the connection there with wanting to use Universe. So there's the layer, and wow, this thing is thick. If I didn't mention already, it's huge and it's thick. Granted, once it pops off the armor, it becomes a lot more slimmer and compact, but this is it. Here's Taper and a Metal Universe. All right, let's see here. Yeah, the clicks are definitely not crazy like other metal drivers, so they definitely fixed that issue, because wow, these clicks feel just kind of eh. I mean, they definitely click, but nowhere near as powerful as before. There's a lot less resistance. I think the only reason I'm struggling to put it together is because Universe is free spinning, so it's really hard to grip it, but the best way would be just holding onto the disc itself. But there you have it, Prominence Phoenix. And wow, this thing is just a bunch of red and gold, but they outdid themselves. All right, last but not least, we have Dangerous Belial, and this thing feels kind of bare because Takara did not disappoint. They basically made us pay for a bunch of DLC in the forms of the F, S, and L gears, and guess what? They are compatible with this. Thankfully, I'm so glad. I would have been very disappointed had they not done that. But let's take a look at it as it is. This is the All Might driver, and I know All Might, this is a unique driver. It's, I guess, the only one of its own. The overdrive system, I think, is what it's from, or what it's called. It changes modes. At least it looks like it goes from like a semi-flat to a more aggressive tip. So yeah, almost like a reboot in a nutshell. And it's made entirely out of plastic. However, it has this metal piece which sits right on top, and that will actually determine if it's going to be in low mode or in high mode. So that's pretty much the disc, if you want to say it, put it that way, but there's not really a disc. Now this is Dangerous Belial, and Dangerous Belial, let's just dissect this really quick because I have a lot to say about it. First of all, I was really shocked to see that they just gave it the 2 armor again, like why? But then I figured out that there's this. So anyway, this is the 2 armor, literally nothing special, the same one from Dynamite Belial. But this is Dangerous, and it's called Dangerous. I don't know why they called it Dangerous. It's kind of a weird name, but I can see it. This thing bears a really strong resemblance to Savior, and I think it's heavily inspired. I mean, just look at Savior here and look at Dangerous. It's pretty much the same design, just a little bit slightly modified. So I wish they would have been a little bit more creative there. Some people say it even looks like Flash Leopard from the plastic gen. I think the colors on this are popping though, like wow. Very vivid. Red here. If you guys don't know, that's rubber. As far as the rubber consistency, it's definitely stiffer, which I'm kind of upset because if you look at something like the F gear, it's a little bit more gummy but not as gummy as Savior. Savior is literally gummy, like it's like a gummy bear. It's super squishy and soft, which means more friction. However, this one's just a little bit just stiffer. So I don't know how good this is going to be in battle as far as that part, but it's there. It's actually got quite a bit of rubber. Now the silver here is not metal, it's just painted plastic, but it's a 3-sided ring, and if you guys can't tell, there are these kind of holes here for all the gears to fit. So this is completely compatible with the F, S, and L gear. And I almost forgot, but there's also the V gear, which turns out is also compatible with this driver. So we're gonna get to the core now. This is Belial 2 or Belial squared, I think. I kind of don't like that they went from the front-facing profile to the side profile now, but it does look sick. Like, wow, Belial actually looks menacing here. It looked a little bit cartoonish in the other one, but you can see its wing, its kind of claw here, its eye, and its helmet. And as far as the core, I guess this here, it's all still gold, but a little bit more detailed. And then what's most interesting is that it has a burst stopper. That's right. So when you launch this thing, the burst stopper pops out, and then it just works just like any other burst stopper. It tries to prevent the tabs from clicking any further. Now, I've also heard that there's mold variations with this chip core. Some people's burst stopper pops out too easily. Some people's don't pop out at all. At least the ones that I've been using, it's working just fine. So kind of luck of the draw, but there it is. So like I mentioned, this thing feels pretty bare, but that's because it's missing all of the gears which can be added. But let's just do a quick comparison as far as putting it together stock, technically, versus just with all the gears. So let's see this here with Dangerous Belial. This is going to be low mode, and it all just comes together like that. Wow. It just feels bare, like I've been saying. But at least I think in the anime, this is where it's at. I don't think the gears have been added. If they're going to be added at all, it might just be more for DLC. But yeah, quite chunky, but still a little bit thinner in the midsection. And this is low mode, of course, so let's see what it looks like in high mode, and then we'll see what it looks like with all the gears attached. So high mode, you flip that over, put the core on the bottom. This actually looks really cool, by the way, just that metal in the center. And then you can flip this over, and this will give you the high mode. And it's obviously much taller. Wow, that's kind of cursed. It's got this weird gap and it's just taller. I've never been a fan of high mode, if I'm being completely honest. I think low mode to me is more aesthetically pleasing. I think high mode just looks too cursed. So we're gonna keep it in low mode. But with that being said, I think would be the best step would be putting all the gears on. And so we're gonna start off with the 4 gears, I guess the only 4 gears. The easiest one to do is the V gear. So that just kind of pops into place here. The 2 holes here line up with the 2 tabs for the V gear. And it just clicks, boom. So does it do much to the driver? I'm not sure. I mean, it just adds this kind of like metal ring around it. Probably more so for weight. Maybe a little bit of LED. But yeah, that's the V gear. Now, I think the most effective gear is probably going to be the L gear, and that sits right on top, and boom, that is a perfect fit. So there's the L gear. The F gear also sits right under. That's also something you just gotta line up with the little gaps here or holes. Boom. And so now you're getting a little bit more chunky. Look at that. So there's this extra rubber contact. So there's rubber on rubber contact, which means that Dangerous might now be useful because it's got metal, rubber, and rubber all in one. Of course, the Belial core remains the same, so you just kind of pop that under. The downside though, of course, is that now you're stuck in high mode. So look at that. This thing is super chunky. And then the icing on the cake is going to be this metal piece, which actually is completely compatible with the S gear in both modes. So you just kind of pop it in, lines up with the little ridges or nudges here. And boom, this is the static mode, so it won't free spin at all. But like I said, it's just a matter of popping it off, flipping it over, and you line it up again. And now it's free spinning. So either way, you can use this either upside up or upside down. It really is all up to your preference, and I think this is the cool thing, is that it doesn't matter how you put it together, it all just comes together. So this is technically the low mode now, because this metal piece is lower, but this boy is chunky. Wow, look at it. It's just, geez, okay. And then, like I said, you just flip this metal piece over, and it lines up, and boom, now you have high mode. So you technically still have low mode, which I'm glad. This thing, though, in its high mode, highest mode, it is a little bit wacky. Just look at that. It's a mix of colors and all these parts. But keeping it in the low mode, it's a little bit just more controlled, I think. Very nice. Okay, I think that's enough of looking at these Beyblades. We're gonna go ahead and just get the stadium out and do some test battles. All right, you guys, I'm back with not only Dangerous Belial, but also Savior Perseus and Prominence Phoenix. So let's start with Belial, though. I did want to get a test launch. So it's somewhat aggressive, and then it changes modes, and it becomes even more aggressive until it kind of just stalls a little bit. So All Might as a driver, it kind of works like Reboot, I'd say. And also the burst stopper activates if you launch hard enough. So you got to reset not only the chip, but also the driver each time. I think it's kind of annoying, but here we go. All right, if we bank it, it doesn't seem as crazy. That's not bad at all. Overall, it seems pretty standard, I'd say. I wish the All Might driver would be a little bit more calmer at the beginning, but that's just how it's designed, I guess. And now we're going to move on to Savior Perseus. So this thing is an attack type with the bearing driver. So pretty calm right off the bat. I mean, there's not much to it. It's on bearings, so it's not going to be overly aggressive, and it's just kind of going to sit in the center there. So that's pretty cool. And then lastly, Prominence Phoenix. And there's Prominence Phoenix, getting a nice straight launch. The thing with Universe, though, and this is across the board, it doesn't have too much stamina. So Phoenix's stamina here is not going to be too good. You can see it's already losing spin, just moving around a little bit. So definitely something to look out for. Of course, as soon as it drops the armor, that's going to make it even worse. So it's going to lose a lot of momentum. But with the armor, it seems to be doing all right. Hard hits all around, and we got a double burst. Wow, okay, that was exciting. I think that's going to wrap it up for this unboxing. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and as always, stay tuned for more on the way. But until next time, guys, I will see you all in the next one. Peace. Whew.